My name is Michael Russo, and I am founder and medical director of Hawaii Pacific DEEG. This presentation will help you to understand what dense array electroencephalography is and what it can do. To begin, EEG, or electroencephalography, was first discovered in 1924 by a German physician named Hans Berger. He is considered the father of EEG by measuring the first electrical waves from the human brain. The electrical waves are produced when groups of neurons or brain cells discharge. The neurons have a negative polarity towards the surface and a positive polarity towards the inside of the brain. The flow of electrical energies produces the signals that are measured by the EEG. The signals oscillate between the deeper areas of the brain and the superficial areas of the brain along different frequency bands. Some of the frequency bands measured are the delta frequency, which is very slow, theta, alpha, and beta frequencies. Alpha is seen during quiet wake with eyes closed, and delta is most often seen during deep sleep. The electrical signals are produced when neurotransmitters, for example acetylcholine, emerge outwards into the cortex and form a pulse, a flux, between the cortex and a deeper area of the brain called the thalamus. When the brain is damaged, in one example, focally, the acetylcholine may not make it to where it is supposed to be. The electrical signals become abnormal, and discharges appear that we could measure on the surface using the EEG. How do we measure them? What is the technique for recording? In the past, little gold-plated electrode leads were pasted onto the scalp. The leads form what are called channels. Two leads connected form one channel, and these channels could be referenced to each other or to any other point that is selected. Standard EEG uses 18 to 24 channels. Above standard EEG uses 32 channels. The more channels is the more brain monitored, and the more brain monitored is what the ideal. Dense array electroencephalography uses up to 256 channels. At Hawaii Pacific DEEG, we use 128 channels. The electrodes are embedded into small sponges placed onto a head net made of rubber that slips over the scalp. The head net can be used in children or adults very easily. The sponges sit into small suction cups. They are soaked in salt. There is no paste and no abrasion of the scalp. The machine itself uses a Mac computer, an Apple computer into which the amplifier sends signals from the head net. We display these on two monitors. The EEG takes approximately an hour to capture. When I look at the EEG on the screen, I place the left-hand side of the brain onto the left-hand side of the screen, and the right-hand side of the brain onto the right-hand side of the screen. The polarity, which is the movement of the electrical energies, is in the upper right corner. This to me represents the actual mind in motion. And then all 128 channels are placed into the bottom right. And you can see these little icicles coming down. Those are abnormal electrical signals. So as the EEG scrolls, we have the time bar telling us second to second what is crossing in front of us, and a synchronization marker that tells us what the topographical display is seeing. Here we see the topographical display on the left and the polarity marker on the right, and you see a bright area of electrical discharge. This represents a focal area of cortical irritability. So the DEEG can very sensitively identify and localize areas of the brain that have abnormal discharges. The display can also be in the form of a frequency distribution. This represents the alpha frequency band. The front of the head is on top, occipital portion on bottom, left, and right sides. The orange represents the highest density of alpha frequency. When eyes are closed during quiet wake, this is what one would see: alpha distributed through the posterior portion of the brain. We can look at multiple frequency bands: delta on the far left, theta, alpha, and beta frequencies. The delta is seen in deeper sleep, theta during drowsiness, alpha during quiet wake, beta, upper beta, and gamma during thought processing. This is what I perceive to be right temporal damage during cognitive processing. You can see a hot spot or a bright region in the gamma frequency range. Along the bottom we see the same frequency bands, eyes closed, quiet wake, alpha, and then theta frequency is emerging. Theta is a slower frequency that is not seen in such concentration, normally during quiet wake, eyes closed. So thank you very much for your attention, and please visit us at www.hawaiipacificdeeg.com or call us at 808-294-3332.